The first time the signal was intercepted, the Galactic Confederation assumed it was a natural anomaly. Electromagnetic pulses, encoded in strangely rhythmic patterns, streamed out from a yellow dwarf system on the outer fringe of the Perseus arm. Initial scans suggested an emerging civilization, possibly pre-industrial. They almost dismissed it. Almost. But then came the second signal, tighter, more focused, filled with an array of harmonic frequencies and structured linguistic formatting. The computers began decoding it. Within standard galactic weeks, they realized what they were hearing: music, not a natural occurrence, not something atmospheric, but intentional sound modulated for aesthetics, emotionally expressive. And behind it was a species that had discovered how to weaponize culture. The Confederation did not panic. They were ancient. Many species had developed the arts before the stars. But then came the third signal, a visual archive. The species, calling themselves humans, had begun broadcasting their history, or at least dramatizations of it. They called them films. Within one galactic cycle, the Confederation was watching images of humans simulating interstellar battles, using faster-than-light drives they didn't even possess yet. They watched dramatizations of galactic empires, artificial intelligence, and species extinction events, created, written, and broadcast by humans for their own entertainment. It was fiction, yes, but it was also a threat. A species that fantasized about universal conquest, that made stories about defeating enemies 1,000 times stronger than themselves, and portrayed victory through cunning, sacrifice, and sheer, overwhelming will, was not to be ignored. Reconnaissance drones were dispatched. They arrived near Earth's orbit within 3 standard cycles. What they found stunned even the oldest members of the Confederation. Humans had reached spaceflight barely 2 centuries ago, yet their rate of technological development was exponential. In just 100 of their years, they had gone from horse-drawn carriages to putting remote vehicles on Mars. Their atmosphere was chaotic, polluted in areas, with signs of violent internal conflict. And yet, their collective systems were stable enough to produce satellites, internet networks, and nuclear energy. They were not unified, but that made them worse, because their survival didn't depend on unity. They thrived in competition, even in chaos. The Confederation sent an observer vessel, cloaked, silent, deep in orbit. For 5 Earth months, it listened, watched, recorded. What it discovered was deeply troubling. Humans were not just inventive. They were relentless. Their science was born not from peace, but from war. Rockets were first designed to deliver destruction before they carried humans. The internet began as a military communication network. Medical advances, aerospace engineering, quantum theory, all traced back to some form of conflict, desperation, or competition. They did not innovate because they were safe. They innovated because they were never safe. It was clear now, this was a death world species. The gravity was high. The atmosphere was volatile. Natural disasters were frequent. Apex predators roamed their continents. Toxic flora, venomous fauna, ice ages, floods, plagues, and still they had survived. No, not survived. Dominated. And worse, they had stories. Stories that taught their children to never give up, to defy the odds, to fight gods if needed. The concept of the hero's journey was embedded in their species' psyche. The idea that pain leads to strength, that loss precedes triumph. It wasn't just myth. It was cultural programming. A Confederate ambassador argued against contact. They are too young, he said, too violent. Let them evolve. Let them die if they must. But do not provoke them. Another countered, if we don't establish oversight now, we never will. So a diplomatic envoy was dispatched. The mission was simple. First contact, peaceful interaction, a test of temperament, a way to gauge if humans were ready for galactic society. The ship landed just beyond Earth's moon, where it was detected almost immediately. Humans, despite their limited reach, had surprisingly efficient detection systems. A few of their orbital sensors pinged the ship, and Earth's major governments began scrambling. The Confederation had prepared for this. They decrypted Earth's major languages, picked English for initial transmission, and broadcast a peaceful greeting. Greetings from the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace. There was silence. then static. Then from Earth, a simple reply, "Prove it." And that was the moment everything began to unravel. The humans didn't trust them. They didn't greet them with awe or reverence. They interrogated, demanded proof, asked about terms, conditions, boundaries. They weren't afraid, they were suspicious. Within days, major world powers had moved military satellites to monitor the alien vessel. Fighter jets circled overhead. Leaders made public addresses, calming their people and warning against foreign influence, even when that foreign was extraterrestrial. And then came the real problem. The humans didn't have a central government, no planetary authority. Every other species in Confederation had achieved planetary unity before venturing into space. Humans hadn't. They were fractured, but that fracture made them unpredictable. No one leader could surrender the planet. No council could dictate a global response. And so, humanity answered with dozens of voices, some curious, some hostile, some indifferent. And in the background, human scientists began doing what they always did, analyzing, observing, reverse engineering. The envoy shared a simple data tablet containing basic galactic information. Within a month, a human physicist had written a paper challenging the Confederation's assumptions about faster-than-light travel. 2 months later, a startup in Norway claimed to have replicated a rudimentary energy core based on just the holographic diagrams. The Confederation was astounded. They had given humanity a glimpse, and humanity had already started building a door. But it wasn't just science. Humans began flooding the galactic comm channels with questions. Their artists painted images of the stars. Their writers composed stories of alien empires falling before the might of Earth. Their filmmakers announced a dozen new space epics inspired by First Contact, some depicting peace, most depicting war. The galaxy watched in disbelief as humans monetized First Contact within weeks. But the final straw came during the incident known simply as the Titan Protocol. A minor Confederation vessel, a survey ship, drifted too close to one of Earth's orbital defense zones. It was unarmed, meant only for analysis. A human military network flagged it as a threat. Protocols were followed. Warnings were issued. But the vessel, not understanding Earth's tactical jargon, didn't respond in time. 3 human anti-satellite missiles were launched. All 3 hit. The Confederation ship was destroyed. No casualties, it was unmanned, but the message was clear. The humans had drawn a line, and then crossed it themselves. The Confederation assembled. Debates raged. Some wanted retaliation. Others demanded immediate withdrawal. But a third group, the old strategists, the war veterans, said nothing at first. Then finally one of them stood and spoke.